Okay guys, welcome to another video. In this case, we're going to start with the principle of for linear impulse and momentum. So we have already seen, right, the principle of work and energy. We have already seen the kinetics where we solve for acceleration and so on. Now, using this principle for linear impulse and momentum, we're also able to solve those similar kind of problems with a different set of parameters that are given. So when we have the equation for the summation of forces, right, we have the sum of forces equals to mass times acceleration. And if you write acceleration in its variable form, so mass equals to the derivative of velocity with respect to time, right? If we derive or write our equation like this, considering of course that m is constant, right? If we rearrange, we can then get out of here that summation of forces times dt is equals to mass times dv. Once again, considering that mass is constant. If we integrate, we will get here the sum of the integral, considering that maybe our forces are variable, from t1 to t2 is equals to mass times the integrals of dv from v1 to v2. This will result then in the following equation, where we are going to have that the summation of forces integrated from time 1 to time 2 with respect to time, it's equals to then, once again, consider mass constant, this will be mass times v2 minus v1. And this will be basically the equation that will deal with linear momentum. So what is linear momentum? Momentum is a quantity of motion in an object of how much force it has while moving. Momentum will be represented by the letter L, and it's equals to mass times velocity. So it's not necessarily how much force it has, or I mean, it's not a force. It's close to a force. Notice its units are in kilograms meters per second, not meters per second square. So it's not close to the newtons, but it is basically how much motion, how much, I guess, force it has while it is moving. So it is kind of weird, I guess, to define like that. But one way in which we can kind of describe it is that, for example, if you have a car that's moving at 55 miles per hour and then it crashes against, a barrier, it will, result in a certain amount of energy lost right there, right? There's a bunch of energy lost or transformed from the car kinetically into the barrier. But if you have an 18-wheeler with it going at the exact same speed and crashing on the exact same barrier, of course the 18-wheeler will, because it's more massive, it has more mass, will have more momentum, so it will, crash, and it will make a larger deformation or a larger mess than the small car going at the exact same speed. Or if any of you guys play sports, you've been tackled by a guy that weighs 150 pounds versus a guy that's 250. Of course, maybe the 250 guy might not be moving as fast, but it's still gonna be moving a lot of momentum because he does have more mass. So that's how we define momentum. We also here have then the linear impulse. And impulse, or once again, notice momentum, we'll see basically will be this section right here. This is my momentum. And then the impulse will be this section right here, where we define impulse as the integral of the force with respect to time. Or if we have a constant force, then we have that impulse. It's equals to our constant force times our change in time, where notice both momentum and impulse are vectors, so it does matter their direction and their where they're coming from. In this case, we define impulse as the effects of the force during the time the force acts, or the change in momentum of an object. So basically, how much what was the effect of the force due to the momentum caused. So usually, if you will see this more in collisions in a little bit next couple of problems, but basically that impulse is the effect that it has. So if you have if this force acts on a bigger time, that impulse is, smaller. But if it acts on a smaller time, let's say in a few microseconds, then this will be a big impulse. So the smaller the time, the bigger the impulse, or the time difference. You can see is t2 minus t1. I think I wrote the same t's, but that's t2 minus t1. So is it the change in time? So we'll see this when we do this in a little more practice problems. So with this, we then write our equation for linear impulse and momentum. And you can see there the principle of linear impulse and momentum is pretty similar to the principle of work and energy, where we, instead of having the kinetic energy plus the change in force, work equals to kinetic energy 2, we have mass times velocity 1 plus the impulses that are seen from T1 to T2 in this problem equals to mass times velocity 2. So this is the, notice it's pretty similar. If we were to derive this, right, if we were to do V2 squared 1/2, yeah, basically you derive this, or I mean, if you integrate this, actually one more, you'll be able to get the equation then that we have for work and energy. So they're pretty similar, but it's basically the same approach. If you have the velocities and the times, you're able to figure out everything else in our kinetic problem. So this can be broken down, of course, because these are vectors. They can be broken down into their components, where we have here, notice we have an initial momentum diagram. So we have velocity v1 going in a different direction, and then some force acts on our body, changing the direction. Then you can see the final momentum diagram is going to be v2 going in an opposite direction. And once again, like I said, this can be broken down into different components. So we can do an equation for each one of its coordinates. So in the x direction, y direction, z direction, however many axes you have. So unlike the equation for work and energy, where all of those things were scalars and we did not care if they were acting in the x or y or z or angle, for this one, because these ones are vectors, they do matter. So we can break down each one of these into their individual components, so that when they can figure out what are those impulses and momentums in the x, y, or z direction. So we'll do a couple problems on this one, and then, because this one we have to cover like about 3 lectures just on today, so maybe I'll do like an example of each. But once again, you guys do have your notes where I have filled them out. Make sure you guys solve those problems, because once again, we have to cover, to catch up with the exam, we have to cover quite a lot of material in this lecture. So this is it for the introduction. I'll see you guys in the next video, where I'm doing a problem regarding this. All right, see you in the next one.